Hi, my name is Chandra DeRamus, and I work for Kentucky State University for the Cooperative Extension Program. And I am a Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Agent in Hardin County. And today I'm going to talk to you about some nutritious recipes for the summer. And so the first recipe that we have is the American flag kabobs. And we are going to go through the process of how to make those kabobs. And I'm going to show you what is included in the recipe. And we're also going to, I'm going to show you how they're going to be pretty kid friendly if you wanted to do these with your family or have a little activity with your more toddler size or a little bit older than toddler size kids. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so this recipe typically takes about, I'd say 10 to 20 minutes, and it's gonna depend on how many guests you serve and how many people you plan on having to actually prepare the dish for. It's fairly simple. The only thing that you're gonna need is strawberries, blueberries, bananas, and you're gonna need some little skewers, or kebab sticks. So the kebab sticks pretty much don't have to be wet. They can stay dry. And some other tips is you will have to cut your strawberries into little cubes, or not really cubes, but you can leave them whole like I have here, or you can pretty much split them in half. I would highly recommend splitting them in half, and here's the reason why. Because usually one little carton of these cost about, I'd say $5 to $6 if you're going to buy them fresh in season. Now, if you're going to buy them frozen, you might be able to get a lot more out of your package, but you may not have the look of the actual kebab where the strawberries are dry. So, and the other thing to note, strawberries don't turn as quick as bananas do. Now, for the banana that you're going to use for the skewer, you're going to use your whole bananas. You're going to cut them in, I'd say, a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch each, in each little cubicle or a little interval, I would say. And you have your blueberries. And so what you do, you start off with a kebab stick, like I have here. And you're gonna go with a half of a strawberry, and you're gonna start just placing all the pieces together until you fill up the whole stick or whatever. So it's fairly simple, and the easy thing I like about this is you can do this with your kids at home. I mean, it's fairly simple. The only thing I would recommend is that you probably don't want to let them use the knife to cut the edges off the strawberries unless they're a little bit older. So that can get a little bit dangerous unless you got a kid-safe knife. The blueberries, there's two different kinds, and so the kind that I have are a little bit bigger, and you want to put those at the very top. And that the reason why we're putting them at the very top is the idea is that when you place them with on a place setting with your other kebabs, it's supposed to make the design of an American flag. Now, I have only about 6 kebabs here, so I don't have like a full set of the American flag. But if you have a full line of guests, and I have a picture of it here, this is what it looks like in person. And pretty much their bananas, as you can see from the slide, are cut a little bit more symmetrically. So, and you have to be very, I guess, consistent about how big you make your strawberry slices and how many blueberries you put in the top. So it's a lot about design and measuring a little bit as well. So it's a cute idea, but if you are actually running low on time and you just want to do a fun snack with your kids for the summer, and that's nutritious, and have them help with it, this could be something fun they could use. And also it can be good at barbecues, picnics, parties, things of that nature. So that way you don't have a snack that has too much sugar in it, and it's kind of something more nutritious for kids, because the strawberries has more vitamin C in it, the bananas has potassium, and the blueberries have vitamin A and vitamin C in high amounts. So with all that, you're going to get a lot more nutrition out of this snack versus doing, like, I'd say fruit snacks or something like that, or just giving them a candy bar or letting them eat something that doesn't have as much natural sugar. So that is how you complete the American flag fruit kebab. It's fairly simple, and I hope that you guys try this recipe and enjoy it with your family. And so these recipes are designed so to be healthy and easy to make for anyone who is a kid, adult, or pretty much close to any age can make this recipe. It doesn't require any cook time, and it serves a lot of people. It's pretty easy. So we're gonna do the strawberry mango salsa recipe next. So we are going to go through some of the ingredients for the strawberry mango salsa. And so what you will need for this recipe is about 15-20 minutes for your preparation time. You'll need 1 ripe mango, and that can be diced, 2 cups of strawberries diced, 1 firm but ripe avocado diced, and that's optional, 2 kiwis diced, yellow or green, and the diced jalapenos or red onions, optional. Now on the not the kiwi, but the jalapenos and the red onions, I highly recommend, if you're doing this recipe for kids, that you, if you're going to include that for your recipe, to put it on the side. Most kids, or some kids I will say, if they have a very unique taste buds, they prefer not to eat onions, and jalapenos can be kind of spicy for someone who doesn't like spicy foods. So those 2 things I would say put on the side. Also the avocado, because a lot of people aren't familiar with how that fruit or that vegetable tastes, so, or fruit actually. So you want to put that on the side as well. So the recipe I'm using today, I've actually altered it a little bit. I'm adding some pineapples to it. And the other thing that's a little bit different is I'm going to be using frozen and canned, frozen and canned fruits. And so I'll have some canned pineapples, and I have some frozen mango strawberry mix, and I have some fresh strawberries, and I have frozen mango. So you are, have the ability to use frozen and canned. And the only reason I would recommend that you use frozen is because of the cost factor. If you're going to be making a, say, a relatively large bowl of this salsa mix, you would want to probably buy 2 to 3 bags of the mango and strawberry mix, just because if you try to buy this with fresh fruit, it's going to cost you a lot more money. So you probably want to go with frozen, and actually the taste is not as different as I thought it would be, especially the mangoes. They taste about the same as the fresh. And the pineapples definitely taste about the same. And some people, if you're used to eating fresh all the time and you can afford it, definitely go ahead and get just fresh. But I can tell you it's going to cost you relatively a lot more. So the other thing this recipe calls for is a homemade vinaigrette. We're not going to do the homemade vinaigrette, but I can show you the ingredients for it here. There's the honey lime vinaigrette. You add olive oil, 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lime juice, 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 pinch each of salt and pepper. And so you put all those ingredients together and you whisk them, and then you add them to the mix. Again, the one thing I would recommend with the Italian, now what we're going to substitute the vinaigrette for is an Italian dressing. But again, I would separate this from your actual fruit or salsa, just because, again, if you're going to be giving this to kids, they will be a little bit more, they may not like the salsa with the fruit because it's a different taste. The recipe does call for you to put this with, or it has the option that you can put this with tortilla chips. And so it makes it pretty kid friendly. So what's gonna happen now is I have all the ingredients right here in front of me, and we're gonna put them in the bowl, and then we're gonna actually assemble the whole little salsa and put it in little cups. So you can see how easy it is for it to make and how easy it is for kids to actually consume, and not just kids, adults, because especially for your outdoor events, you don't want people having to go and pick up this little handle and scoop and, you know, kind of, I sometimes double dip, I would call it, because of the simple fact that we have the pandemic currently happening with COVID-19. And so with that, a lot of people have not been vaccinated for personal reasons, or either they may not feel comfortable with getting the vaccine. And so with that comes, we need to be a little bit more cognizant of the idea of being safe. So one thing I would highly recommend is that you have pre-packaged or kind of put your salsa in little cups, and you can have tops with them as well. Now the cups I have today don't have tops. However, that's a little much safer, especially if you have a lot of guests, and you know, that will just more so keep the idea of more than one person using the utensils. And the other thing is, once you're finished with the salsa or making it, you want to cover it and put it in a refrigerator. So I'm going to go ahead and start with putting together all the ingredients. And I'm going to start with the main one, which is the mango and strawberries. And so we're just going to mix them here pretty easy here. And as you can see how I'm doing, this is not rocket science. It is very simple. And I have already saved myself some time with adding or prepping the strawberries before and cutting them in half and rinsing them. And that's one thing I forgot to mention before. If you're going to be using fresh fruit, you would definitely want to rinse it before you add it to your frozen. So forgot to mention that. And you add your pineapples. And so there you have it. Everything's together. And the reason why I'm using not all the ingredients on the table is because of the simple fact that you want to think about your ratio of strawberries to mangoes, and I guess mangoes to pineapples, and everything that you have in your salsa. So so that's kind of what we have as far as our mixture. And I'm gonna add a few more strawberries. And can you kind of tell I like strawberries? So I like strawberries a lot, so I'm gonna add some more of those. Actually, the strawberries also add a little bit more color and sweetness. The mango and the pineapple are pretty sweet already by themselves. But that's pretty much the salsa without the vinaigrette. I'm not gonna add the vinaigrette to the actual thing here, or the bowl. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and assemble some little dishes in a cup for you, so you can see how it looks and how easy it is to actually have it in a cup. And it's like this fun size for any event, like I said, inside or outdoors. The other thing, if you're gonna have it outside, make sure you cover it, because there's gonna be a lot of fruit flies and insects that will try to eat with you as well at the same time. So, and you don't want that. So make sure you cover everything if you're gonna have an event outdoors. So that's what we're about to do just now, and you'll see how it looks in just a moment. So we are here and we are finished assembling our salsa. And so what I have compiled for you, or put all together, is our little salsa cups here. And as you can see, they have the little decorative Hello Spring on them. And so it's pretty much more of a spring theme here. And then there's more of a little blue and white for like if you're celebrating Memorial Day or the 4th of July. And you can do one of two things with this little salsa dish. Like I've done here, you can put it in little cups. As you can see, it's extremely easy to eat it with a little fork. And also you can actually add a little top if you want to be a little bit more conscious about safety and things getting on the inside. The other thing you can do is get little toothpicks and put the little fruit in individual toothpicks for maybe the picky eater who may just eat strawberries, or they might just eat mango, and they can just pick it up on their own. Little kids love to hold their own things, and they like little small things for some reason. So these little things are really small, and this one has little hearts on it, and you may not be able to see that, but there are some little heart-shaped things on the tip there. And another little tip I have for you is we have the vinaigrette in these little pre-packaged little condiment holders. And I highly recommend these if, you don't want people to constantly come up and have to dip into a bowl of vinaigrette or have to constantly pick up the bottle. So that is what I would highly recommend if you're going to do the vinaigrette. And like I said, I did keep it separate just because different people have different taste buds. And like I said, this is optional as far as if you want to eat it with sauce, with tortillas. So you can just buy some regular tortilla chips. For me, I like the tortilla chips with lime. And so that gives it a little bit more of a kick to it. And so you have like the sweet and a little bit of tang. So that's pretty much the recipe for the strawberry and mango salad. And next we're gonna do the recipe for chicken on a stick.
Very good. Explain the plate. I can't see the plate in any of my shots. Pick up the plate and explain it a little bit more.
Okay. So this...
And stand a little bit closer to the, because I can get it in the top down shot. Yeah, there you go. So
Okay.
So start here in 3, 2.
So here we are looking at the strawberry mango salsa recipe. And what I've done for you is I have separated out some of the little pieces of fruit. And the reason why I have done this is because sometimes kids prefer things in small packages. And so by putting the little toothpicks in each piece of fruit, they may not eat every single piece of fruit within the whole salsa salad. So what you do is you put it on individual pieces of the fruit so they can enjoy it individually. And that helps with their energy levels because it has vitamin C, vitamin A. All of this is very nutritious and has very good properties as far as nutrients. The other thing is it has a lot of natural sugars in it. So you're not having what we call the sugar crash, where you'll consume a lot of food and then you have all this energy and then you just kind of get tired all of a sudden. So if you consume fruits like this more often, you tend to have more energy. And what I have found personally is that if you are used to drinking energy drinks, you don't depend on those as much because you just have natural energy from what you're eating and you're getting nutrients from what you're consuming versus, say for instance, if you're eating a lot of, let's say, chocolate bars and things like that, those don't provide a lot of nutrients. So after you eat it, it's more of it's empty calories pretty much. So I think for the most part, I would recommend this for any outdoor event or indoor, like if you have some people outside and then you want to come inside or something like that. But like I said, just make sure that you keep it covered. And after you're done, it needs to be refrigerated within 2 hours. So those are my recommendations for the strawberry and mango salad. And that's all we have for that recipe. And next we're gonna look at the recipe for chicken on a stick. Hi, we are about to go with another nutritious snack recipe for the summer. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the grilled chicken on a stick recipe. And so this recipe is traditionally done on an actual grill. However, today we're going to be using an air fryer to prepare the chicken. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the ingredients for it, which is pretty simple. And then we're going to actually cut the chicken into cubes, and we're going to actually cook the chicken right here on set. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the recipe for the grilled chicken on a stick calls for half a pound or a pound of skinless chicken breast or chicken strips. You can use cilantro, garlic, half a tablespoon of salt, and a zest of lemon. And the wooden or metal skewers is optional. For our demonstration today, we're going to be using toothpicks instead of the actual wooden skewers. And typically what you want to do if you are using the wooden skewers is you do have to soak those before you actually put them on the grill, because if you do not, they will burn. And there's also the option of using metal skewers, and those do not burn. So, and they're a lot more easier to work with if you are going to use the option of grilling the chicken on an actual grill. So I just wanted to make that mention, because once we put the chicken in the air fryer, we will not be putting it on any type of wood or a metal skewer. So we're just going to actually put the chicken in, but we're going to season it first. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have already, as you can see here, sliced some of the chicken, and I'm going to cut just one or two little bit more slices. I'm going to put it there, and then we're going to transfer that to the air fryer. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the air fryer for, let's see here, for about 30 minutes. I think is the time I have to do for chicken. So, and it's going to start to heat up. And as you can see here, and this is the Air Daddy, by the way, so the plate size is a little bit bigger. And so you start off pretty much with a clean slate, and the plate comes out, and you have your basket there. So yes, it's easier to click when you can actually put it on. And typically what the air fryer does is it circulates air, and it actually uses that air to fry your chicken. And what we're gonna do is just spray a little oil on the bottom. That way the meat does not stick onto the basket as much. And just in a second, we're gonna actually put our actual chicken inside of here. So I'm about to take one of the strips here, and I'm going to just cut it into little cubes. And so that way, and I've already done some of them. And so that way, whenever I get ready to put the little toothpicks in them later, I won't have to do that. So you do that there, and you throw that back in the little bowl. And next we need to season. So I'm going to transfer this to my little season bowl. And what's going to happen is I'm going to transfer it to my little season bowl. I'm going to season it, and then I'm going to put it in the air fryer. And so that's what's going to happen with that. And we'll be ready. And the air fryer is pretty much, with the air fryer, you typically don't have to preheat it or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about anything about preheating or anything like that. I always try to use a little bit of poultry seasoning on my chicken. And this is skinless chicken breast, so it's not been kind of, I guess you could say, it doesn't have a lot of fat on it. So it's skinless, so it's a lot more doesn't have as much skin fat. So, and I use this, it's more of a chicken seasoning. It's a store brand, tastes pretty good. Now, as we talked about earlier from the recipe, I recommended that you use cilantro, garlic, and lemon zest to flavor your chicken. Today what we're going to do is use a Hidden Valley Ranch flavoring, just because of the simple fact that it has a lot of those flavors in it already. and it just is more efficient in terms of just putting all the ingredients on at one time, and it makes it so much easier. So we'll just put it on here, and usually I just put the whole pack on here. Sometimes at home I actually don't use the whole pack, but since I'm here, I will just use the whole pack with you all, so that way you can just see the true effect of it. But it's kind of floury as far as the seasoning itself, and it smells really good, by the way. And we don't in particularly promote any particular brand. It just happens to be that Hidden Valley just has to have some really good flavors. So once I get a good mix on it, I just use my hands actually, and I'm gonna change out my gloves because it gets a little messy, but I get that on there. And one thing I will mention is some people, if you want to do your own marinade at home, you can actually put butter and lemon pepper on your chicken and put it in a plastic bag and put it in a refrigerator for about an hour. And what you do is you pull it back out and you put it in a container and you put it in your air fryer in the stove, and it tastes wonderful. So just a little side tip on flavoring, and you can do marinades with your chicken or whatever you like. But right now we're gonna go ahead and put the chicken right down into the plate here. And as you can see, it's very little contact with me touching it. And we're gonna have to give that a little while before it actually gets done. You wanna make sure that it actually is laid across so that it cooks evenly. You spread it across each the whole basket. So you want to make sure it's spread out pretty good, by the way. And it cooks fast. I've got it on about 25 minutes here. So we are gonna wait for that to get done. And we're going to just wait about 20 minutes and it should be ready. And we should have our little chicken fried sticks in just a little bit. We literally have only a couple of seconds and it should be completely done in literally moments now. And I'm looking at the timer and it's right above 0, so that's why I keep looking back at my little dial here on the top. So you guys may not be able to see that, but I am excited to see everything as it comes out. So while that is happening, I will go ahead and talk about some additional things you can have for your chicken on a stick as far as some of your seasonings that you could use. And so typically people for outside events or barbecues and things of that nature, they have barbecue. And so we have some barbecue here that we will add to the chicken a little bit later. And we're going to cut it into cubes. And we will be adding it to the chicken in just a few seconds here. So, and this one has more of a, I would say kind of a hickory taste to it with honey barbecue. So, but I would highly recommend it if you have not tried it before. I had recently tried it and it was pretty decent for a barbecue sauce. So I can't really promote anyone in particular, but out of the ones I have tried, I really do like this one. So just keep that in mind as you are preparing for the holiday, or if you're just preparing for just any kind of event, like a birthday party or something like that. And some other things to keep in mind when you are about to prepare to take your meat out of the air fryer. You want to make sure that your surface is clean from before. If you can remember, I had utensils that I was using, and I had added the chicken to one of these bowls, and there was debris, or not really debris, but there was seasoning on this little handle here. So you want to make sure all your utensils are clean. Wipe down your surface, and you also want to make sure that you wipe down your cutting boards so that they don't have any germs on them, because what can happen is you can cross-contaminate all of your other dishes as far as putting raw meat here. And then if you don't clean it and you put it here, and let's say the meat comes out of here, makes contact with here, it can cross-contaminate and go to this clean bowl. So you want to make sure that you wipe down all your surfaces, make sure all of your dishes are cleaned, and wash with warm soap and water, of course. And you would just want to make sure that you're following all of the safety guidelines in terms of making sure that your family and your friends are going to be safe. So that's one thing I would definitely add to the conversation about preparing a recipe for the chicken out of the air fryer. And the only other thing I could think of is pretty much just after the chicken actually comes out of the actual air fryer, I'm going to actually take it out, but there's going to be a process where I'm going to actually have to clean the basket out of the air fryer. So eventually that'll have to happen. And the air fryer itself, as it is actually cooking and circulating the air, is not extremely hot, but I do caution you, it does get warm. So you might want to just, you know, kind of keep kids away from touching it and doing things like that, because it can be a little bit of a hazard as far as that's concerned. The other big one is, as you saw earlier, the basket does come out, but I do want to caution you that you do have to unplug the air fryer before you, I would say, once it gets cooled down and all that. But you also do not want to immerse the entire air fryer in water. So that's one big safety tip. So, and it's done in a snap. So here we go. We're fixing to go ahead and take a look at it. And it looks like he got a little bit more char. It's got some little char on it. So I did this recipe a couple of weeks ago, and I did not get the char that I was actually hoping for. But this one actually came out a little bit better because we had it in there a little bit longer time. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to one of my little bowls here, and it's actually gonna be pretty done. So we'll get to see in just a minute here. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a char on it. Like I said, I left it in here longer than I anticipated, but usually there is not like an actual fried look to it unless you put, I haven't tried to put flour on it. So it just kind of depends on what you put on it and that kind of thing. So other than that, it's just kind of a trial and error thing, and you just kind of go along with it. So, and there we are with that. So we're finished, and I'm gonna attempt to put this back in here. So, and sometimes it's tricky in actually going back in. Got it in there that time. And so now we are at the process where we are with the chicken in our little bowl. And so what we want to do is put it either on some type of stick like I have here, a skewer, or you can use toothpicks. So it is your choice as to how you would like to have the chicken. But what we'll do here now is we'll just try one of the skewers so I can show you how it looks, because again, we did try this without the process of cooking the chicken traditionally on an actual grill. So, and I probably should have let the chicken cool a little bit, but it's not extremely hot. But I did want to see how it would look if we did put it on a skewer. And there's one. So looks pretty neat, I think. And so you would add them to a skewer. Like I said, it's your choice. Or you would add them to a some type of toothpick or something like that. But the whole idea is that you're putting it on a stick for the kebab effect and for easy access. So A lot of people do the kabobs with vegetables, such as you see the picture on my slide where there's some tomatoes and pineapples. So there's a lot of combinations that you can try. If you're looking for more of a lighter temperature on it, or you don't want it so brown, you can definitely, I would say, kick it down to about 15, maybe 20 minutes. Because the first time I did try chicken, and this one, I only tried it for about, I think, 25 minutes. So it makes a big difference, as you can tell, in time. So, and one thing I would like to add, I almost forgot. With the barbecue, and I'll have to grab some gloves here. One thing that I would highly recommend is for your guests, if you are serving several people, that you put some barbecue sauce in some prepackaged little containers. So that way they can have their own set of, or their own barbecue sauce. And trust me, they're gonna want some of this if you have it on hand. So I would definitely suggest that if you can have that available to them. You're gonna wanna have some little condiment containers and some little tops. And this is very efficient, especially if you're traveling or you're going to be taking the food with you, where you don't want the barbecue sauce to kind of get all over everything. So, and like I said before, you don't want your guests touching everything, and it's just so much easier. So what you would do is just put a little in there, and it'll be your dipping sauce. So there you go. Or, you know, you do have the option as well as just putting it all over the chicken in some cute little swirly design, or whatever you prefer. But like I said, if you're serving guests, I highly, highly recommend these little condiment cups, which I am finding a little hard. There we go. It's closing easy now. And these condiment cups will save the rest of your food from getting barbecue sauce flavor on, say, your pound cake, or say watermelon, or something else that you may have on your plate, your potato salad, or whatever else you may have as far as the side dish with your chicken on a stick. I'm going to be talking to you today about some safety tips for being at a picnic or being at an outside celebration. And so we're going to go through 3 main tips that'll help you with being safe after this COVID-19, or during this COVID-19 pandemic. We want to be safe and healthy. And so I have 3 or 4 tips for you today, and we're going to go ahead and talk about those. So the first tip I have for you is creating a hand washing station. And so you'll see here over to the side of me, there's a few items that I have for a partial hand washing station. There is some items here that'll create a hand washing station, but I do not have any running water, which is typically one part of the hand washing station if you want a complete hand washing station. This is only just partial stuff that you would need. But you would need, first and foremost, water, and you would need soap that is antibacterial. And you can see from the label here, it's listed that it has antibacterial properties with it. You want to have hand wipes available for your friends and family, just in case you don't have any running water, especially if you are at an outdoor campsite, or if you're at a park or something outdoors. You also want to have some pump hand sanitizer, and this as well. One thing to keep in mind as well is having some paper towels or hand towels handy. You want to have more than one hand washing station. The reason being, especially if you have more than 30 to 50 guests, so everyone does not have to be crowded in the same spot, and you can move along your buffet food line a lot quicker. It will save you time, and it will be more efficient for everybody. Everybody is happy. So that's one of the biggest things to have for your outdoor event. The other thing that you want to look at is your table covering. I have a beautiful blue plastic covering here for our table covering that we have, and it is covered by a very beautiful white fabric tablecloth. And the reason that it's covered is to prevent spills and things getting on the actual fabric of the tablecloth. So this tablecloth was very inexpensive, only about $1.08 at the Dollar Tree. So you want to think about those things as you are preparing and planning for your outdoor occasion. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you know how many guests that you are having for your event, so that way you can plan to have enough food for the amount of guests that you have. So another thing you want to look at is making sure all your surfaces are clean. If you are the guests who will be serving the food, if you have guests helping you to prepare and serve the food, you want to have some gloves handy, and so that you can change out your gloves if you're going to be going from cooking raw food to handling cooked food or just handling food in general. And so that's one big thing or factor that you want to think about. Something else, for your outdoor event, you want to have a lot of events and activities to do for kids, because kids will tend to get bored very fast. So you have to have some things that are handy there on site that they actually enjoy. So I have here some water bottles that are pretty handy. As you can see, you can keep some little dry snacks in the bottom of this. So that way, if you don't want to carry around a lot of materials with you, this is easy to transport a drink and a little snack at the same time. So I see a lot of parents with Cheerios and things of that nature that they have for their kids. This is the answer. So having little things like that and little tops that actually have to twist off, that's actually something that you want to look for, so that if it tips over, it doesn't pour out so easy. Like this one, like if it tips over, obviously the drink will pour out because it being a straw on the top. So we have a few recipes that were prepared on today, and we have the American flag kabobs, we have the strawberry and banana mango salsa, and we had chicken on the stick. And so we had 3 different dishes that were prepared for our outing on today. And so this right here with the chicken on a stick, it actually requires a sauce. So what I have done to make things a lot more convenient for guests is put it in prepackaged condiment packaging, just so that way you don't have a lot of interaction with people picking up the bottle over and over again, and a lot of contact with that. So one other tip I want to give to you guys is having to-go plates. These plates are okay for a small number of people on an inside event. However, as you can see, there is no cover. It's very decorative and very cute, but if to-go plates are more efficient, because you can place them from, say, this table to your car fairly easy. You can place it inside of a bag. And one thing I would suggest too, as you're putting your little foods inside of the to-go plate, is to separate things out with aluminum foil or some type of plastic or wax paper, so things don't get mixed in together as far as your foods. And then let's talk about temperature. All of your meats, of course, have to be cooked at a temperature of maximum temperature of 165 degrees. And so that's the temperature that you want to cook your meat to, as far as the internal temperature. And as far as transporting foods in the cooler, you want to reduce the amount of times that people are opening and closing the cooler by having the drinks either out on a table like I have here with the water bottles. And also, if you place your drinks inside of your refrigerator the day before the event, the core temperature of the actual drink will be cooler. So when you put it inside your cooler, before you put the ice in, it will be a lot easier for that cooler to maintain its temperature. So the The only other tip I have for you is to make sure after everything is done and you have, you know, your 1 or 2 people serving the food, or you have people coming up to get the plates, that you actually clean up afterwards. One thing I forgot to mention is if you are going to have to-go plates, is make sure you put a little sign that says what kind of meat you have inside of the to-go plate, what kind of side dishes you have, because what's going to happen is people will come up and they will say, oh, well, I wonder what's inside of this one. And they'll go through and they'll open every plate and they'll look and say, oh, I didn't want chicken. And then they'll close it and then put it back. And so you don't want that. So what you want to do is get you a little sign holder and a sign and put what's inside of the dish. This is more so just a recipe card for the American flag fruit kebabs. However, you can create a bigger sign that just says, say, chicken on a stick and American flag kebabs, you know, and that they know specifically what's inside the box. They don't have to open it and question what's inside. The only other thing you could do for visual purposes, if you have somebody that likes to see their food, you can have 1 or 2 samples sitting out, but knowing that the sample probably won't be able to be eaten if it's been out for several hours. It just depends. But like I said, the best thing to do is just to have something labeled or labels in front of your dishes or your little plates. So that way, or your to-go plates, so they know what's inside of it, and then they won't question or have to open it to figure out what's inside. So that's most of the tips that I have for you. Make sure you have multiple washing stations or hand washing stations, so that way you don't get a crowd of people together up close to the table and congregating, and kind of just everybody needs to clean their hands. So everybody's kind of, it's a gridlock, you know, with that 1 or 2 people that are going kind of slow. So you have one here, maybe have one on another area away from the table. So that way you're following social distancing guidelines with COVID-19. You're still keeping people spaced out 6 feet or 3 feet away from each other, and you're being healthy and safe. So those are all the tips I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you would like to leave any comments or anything, you can reach me through email at chandra.deramus@kysu.edu, or find us on Facebook at Kentucky State University's Land Grant Facebook page at KYSU AG.